Once upon a time, in a peaceful little village, there lived an old lady who was loved by everyone. She was kind, wise, and always happy. No matter what happened, she never seemed sad. People often came to her for advice, hoping to understand the secret behind her endless joy. One day, a young man from the village gathered the courage to ask her, "Grandmother, why are you always happy? No matter what happens, you never seem sad. Don't you ever feel bad when things go wrong?" The old lady smiled warmly and said, "My dear, life is full of ups and downs. Some days are good and some days are bad. But I've learned that happiness comes from within, not from what happens around me." The young man frowned, confused. "What do you mean? How can you be happy when bad things happen?" The old lady took a deep breath and began her story. "When I was young, I had a loving husband and children. We weren't rich, but we were happy. Then, one day, my husband fell ill. We didn't have enough money for medicine, and despite all our efforts, he passed away. It was the saddest day of my life. I cried for weeks, convinced I would never feel joy again." The young man listened closely as she continued. "But then, I realized something. Being sad forever would not bring him back. My children needed me, and I needed to live. So, I decided to look at life differently. I understood that sadness and happiness are both part of life. But I had a choice. I could either let the sadness consume me, or I could find happiness again." The young man was astonished. "But how did you do that?" The old lady smiled. "Every morning when I wake up, I tell myself, today is a new day and I will find something to be happy about. Some days are harder than others, but I always find something, even if it's small. Maybe the sun is shining, a flower is blooming, or I hear a child laughing. There is always something to be grateful for." The young man thought for a moment, then asked, "But what if something really bad happens? How can you still be happy?" The old lady nodded. "It's not always easy, my dear, but when bad times come, I remind myself, this too shall pass. Hard times don't last forever. Instead of focusing on what I've lost, I focus on what I still have. My health, my friends, the simple fact that I am alive. Happiness is a choice. You can choose to dwell on the bad, or you can choose to seek out the good. It takes practice, but it is possible." The young man left her home deep in thought. That night, he decided to follow her advice. The next morning, he looked for something good in his day. He noticed the fresh morning breeze, the birds singing, and the laughter of children playing nearby. Slowly, he realized that even on difficult days, he could still find moments of happiness. As time passed, the old lady's wisdom spread through the village. More and more people began to understand that happiness wasn't about what they had or what happened to them, but about how they chose to see life. They, too, learned to find joy in the little things, and so the village became a happier place. Not because life was perfect, but because they had learned the secret to true happiness. Happiness is a choice, and it comes from within. No matter how hard life gets, we can always find something to be grateful for. And when we do, we discover that joy is never too far away.